What happened down there in the ACC tournament was something that every Duke fan and John Scheyer and even Coach K from wherever he was watching the game, they were holding their collective breaths because Cooper Flagg got hurt tonight, and you saw him we saw him in a picture and video in a wheelchair after. What happened? What do you know? And will Cooper Flagg be back tomorrow?
I would not expect him to be back tomorrow. In fact, I think John Scheyer intimated afterwards that he would rather Cooper Flagg not play. The quote was, "It's not worth it." He said it's a real long shot for him to play, and that this is John Scheyer saying it. I will have to be convinced by everyone in the locker room tomorrow for him to be able to play. It's a sprained ankle. He went up for a rebound midway through the first half and landed with all his weight on his right foot. He came to the bench, and it didn't look like he was putting any pressure on it. He was sitting on the bench. He was literally right in front of me, 5 feet away from me, and they were testing it out, and he was in some serious pain. He got helped back to the locker room. They put him in a wheelchair, and they brought him to get tests, and they brought him to get it scanned and x-rayed, and the x-rays came back negative. And from the people that I talked to within that Duke program, within that Duke locker room, it sounds like they dodged a worst-case scenario with this. I would be very surprised if he came back. Like, you could see how much he was in pain. I saw him afterwards out underneath some of the stands when he was walking by later, and he didn't have a boot on. It wasn't wrapped in ice, which is like kind of crazy to me. Cooper, what are you doing? Like, stop walking around without shoes on and ice on your ankle. But he was limping a little bit, but it didn't look like something where this was the kind of catastrophic injury that we saw at first. And Mike, you know this, man. Like, there are times when you'll sprain your ankle and it'll feel like somebody just took a shotgun, put it right next to your ankle, and pulled the trigger, and it feels like you're going to have to get your entire leg amputated. And then after a couple minutes, the initial pain kind of wears off, and you're like, all right, this sucks, but this is not there's no torn ligaments in here. I think I'm going to be fine. So I think it's too early to know long-term what the prognosis is going to be. I would be very, very surprised if he played in the SEC, in the ACC tournament here moving forward. But I don't think his status for NCAA tournament stuff is in jeopardy. That's not me reporting anything. That is me just kind of reading the tea leaves here and reading between the lines.
All right. Well, we do have some audio of John Scheyer in the press conference talking a little bit about Cooper Flagg's injury. Let's hear a little from Scheyer now.
I'll just tell you real quick, look, Malik was in a lot of pain, and he redislocated his shoulder. That's why, I'm sure some of you saw it. We got him a stretcher just because to tolerate the pain, and it's he was in a lot of pain, and he's at the hospital now. We'll figure out how he's doing. I'm going to try to figure out if I can go see him right now. And Cooper, he just came down, sprained his ankle. X-rays were negative, which is great. We just have to understand there's going to be swelling and to see how he recovers and how he goes from there.
All right, that was Duke head coach John Scheyer after the game, talking a little bit about Cooper Flagg's injury, which, it's going to be interesting because obviously there's still something there where he's going to be the number one pick. You got to protect him as much as you possibly can. And there's really nothing to be gained by winning the ACC tournament at this point. I mean, there's something to be gained, but there's a lot more to be lost if he re-injures that ankle. So, to me, this is a no-brainer. You sit Cooper Flagg, you get him healthy. Yeah.
The other problem is that Cooper Flagg's not the only guy that got injured tonight. Malik Brown also the phrase that Scheyer used was re-dislocated his shoulder. They actually had to take him to the hospital, and he was taken out of the arena on a stretcher because of the amount of pain that he was in. And that's one. It's similar to the Lamont Butler situation with Kentucky, where when you have a shoulder injury like that, it's just going to keep popping up, and you're going to keep aggravating it, and you could heal it up.
Butler got hurt again, Rob. I know you're
down
down there. But Butler's hurt again. He's on the sidelines again. He got hurt late in the first half. Questionable to return. He's not
shoulders,
coming back.
Man.
You can see it. Shoulder again.
Yeah, shoulders, man. Injuries suck, and
they play hard.
These guys,
play hard as shit.
I got a lot of respect for. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for both of those guys because they play so damn hard. But the problem is when you play hard, and you got a bad shoulder. Like those two things do not mesh very well together. So I think the start of this game was about as bad as it could be for Duke, but I want to give credit, man. Knueppel was unbelievable in the second half. All Duke did down the stretch was they found ways to get Knueppel into ball screens. Georgia Tech was going over all the ball screens, and all Knueppel did was just put him in jail, had him right there on his butt, and he was playing 2-on-1 with Common Malawach, and all that would happen is if the center didn't come up to him, to lay it. Come up to, throw it up for a lob. I think Malawach had like 4 or 5 dunks there in the second half from Knueppel. He was terrific. It got to the point, Mike, Georgia Tech never switches, and Georgia Tech was switching those ball screens by the end of the game.
Well, it's not the first time we've seen Con have to step into that role and man that.
Mm-hmm.
When things were really, really hectic to start that Kansas game way back when, he was the one that kind of settled them down, was able to navigate the pressure, fight through the ball screens when Hunter's hedging and showing. And then in the Louisville game at Louisville early on in ACC play, when Cooper had his, I think 2 fouls or maybe he went to the bench for almost like a 10-minute period there in that second half, and they just went right to Con, and that was just kind of their offense. And he's just so good because, like you said, Rob, the combination of size and pace and skill, he's able to go where he wants to go. He had 8 assists, 1 turnover today. And like you said, guy commits uphill, you throw it to the backside because you got shooters on the weak side. So they don't want to come in and tag all the way. And Con's tall enough to skip over and throw it to that weak side corner. So I had the realization today when Brown went out and when Flagg went out, our natural inclination is to be like, oh, this is a team that's like severely undermanned, which, those are 2 really key cogs to what they do. But then I sat there, I'm like, okay, Proctor, Knueppel, James, Gillis, who started for a title game team last year, and Malawach. I'm like, you just take that team and isolate it. Like, that is a damn good team as is, and probably a team that can win this tournament with that group alone. And Foster would get increased time. A few of their backup bigs would get increased time as well. But it's, again, I had to kind of splash water in my face and be like, this is still a ridiculously talented Isaiah Evans as well. Like, he came in and kind of changed the tenor of that game in the first half. So just really impressive. And I'm excited to see if Flagg's out and if Brown's out, which we feel like is likely.
My take, Mike,
I don't think North Carolina's sneaking up on them.